Now, like I said, he was traded for the former UFC flyweight champion. This is surreal stuff. And DJ's on the phone right now, his first interview since the trade. Demetrious, thank you as always for the time. Congratulations. I think initially people were like, I feel bad for DJ, but let's be clear right off the top. You're really happy about this, correct?
Yeah, I'm extremely happy, ecstatic about this. I wanted this to happen. The only reason why I'm over at one championship is because after my last fight, I sat down with Malky and I sat down with Matt, and I was like, you know what? I don't think there's nothing left for me to prove here in North America. I defended my belt 11 times, consecutive times in the UFC, been champion since 2012 all the way to 2018, made weight every single time, passed every single drug test, finished my opponents in every way you could think of, knockout, submission, TKO, KOs. I mean, I've done it all. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if, I love working with Maki. Because if I tell Maki, like, Maki, I want wings put on the back, and I want a tail, and I want horns as a dragon. And Maki be like, I can make that happen, DJ. So anything I bring to Maki to the table, he's always like, I can make it happen. And when I asked him, I was like, yo, you think you can get me, released from my contract? He goes, I could release today. And I was like, oh, well, that's very bold of you to say. And that's how the talk started to happen.
When did it start? When did you first come up with this idea?
I think the first idea that I wanted to travel to compete in Asia and one championship, it's always been in the back of my mind. But definitely, right after the fight, I came home, had some stuff to take care of medical-wise, and then, Maki reached out to me and goes, hey, what do you think about doing moving forward with your career? And I was like, let's see if you give me a release. No bad blood whatsoever. Just go in there and ask them, like, hey, Demetrious Johnson was a great champion for the UFC, and I think I've done everything I can in that division. So go ahead and ask. And it doesn't hurt to ask. My always philosophy is, whatever. You're right where you started, right? If you ask, I tell my children, they come ask me, Daddy, can I have this? And I say no. Then they're like, then what's the point of asking if you're always going to say no? I'm like, well, at least you asked. It doesn't hurt to ask. So he went and asked, and that's how it started.
Okay, but that's when you brought it up. When did you first start thinking of this as a possibility? It couldn't have happened after the fight, or did it? For the first time?
No, I mean, it happened for the first time, but obviously, I went into that fight thinking I was going to win that fight, and so if I would have won that fight, obviously, I would have kept my obligation as a champion to keep on defending my belt. But once I lost, I was like, okay, well, it is what it is, and I'm going to move on with my career, and the UFC can keep on building that flyweight division and do what they want to do. So that's when I initially said, okay, I want to get released.
I remember talking to you about this a couple of weeks after the Cejudo fight, and I remember thinking it right after the fight. You reminded me a lot of Anderson Silva when he lost to Chris Weidman at UFC 162. And what I mean by that was, like, heavy is the head that wears the crown. I kind of felt like, you know what, DJ did it all. He broke the record. He doesn't seem all that upset. You did the media rounds. I remember at Staples Center, like, you didn't seem all upset. Back then, I was thinking, like, wow, maybe he just, he wants to kind of move on. He doesn't want the pressure of being champion. But now, in hindsight, I'm wondering if you were already thinking of it that night. Okay, now I'm not tied to a belt anymore. Now the door's open for me to leave.
I think it's a little bit of all of that. Obviously, I think there was more pressure on my wife because she lets the social media get to her and what people say and all that stuff. So I would say it was more pressure lifted off her chest, I guess you could say. For me, when the whole fight, everything went down, I've always been in defeat. And after, the loss to Henry Cejudo was a great fight, I wasn't very, I don't know. It was weird. When I fought Dominic Cruz, I was distraught. I was pissed. I was mad because, the man suplexed me 3 times, 4 times. I felt like there was nothing I could do when I fought. Dominic Cruz. It was just that fight. I felt like I got I was defeated. When I lost in Cejudo, I was like, I didn't feel like he blew me out the water. I was like, that was a close fight. Henry Cejudo is a phenomenal athlete, but I was like, oh, okay, well, it is what it is. Let's move on and see what else I can do. And yeah, you're right. Since I wasn't a champion, there was nothing, technically holding me down in the UFC. Obviously, if I'm a champion, I'm going to keep on defending my belt. And then if I would have won that fight, I probably would have, defended my belt 4 more times because that's how many fights I had left on my contract. And then after that, I would have, pursue my way to Asia. But since I lost, I was like, there's something holding me down. There's a line full of guys, fresh matchups for the UFC. They've always wanted fresh matchups, I believe. And so it has, the North American population. They always wanted to see a new champion, and they always wanted to see different matchups. And now they have the opportunity to make happen. And they have a trilingual champion that can speak Portuguese, Spanish, and English. So do your best to market him and sell that division. Woo!
There's no question that, especially over the past year, it's been contentious at times, even throughout your reign. Can the flyweight sell? Can DJ sell? Why isn't he getting the pay-per-view numbers and whatnot? Any of that come into play? Like, especially the stuff with Borg and DJ, was there ever a point where you're like, I don't need this. This is too much. I don't want to get involved in these public battles. Let me just move on.
100%. I believe at the end of the day, when I first started doing mixed martial arts, I've always been told by Matt, all you have to do is fight. That's all you need to do, and that's all I've continued to do. And that's one thing that I'm looking forward to is just going over to Asia and displaying my skill set. I mean, One Championship is truly the home of martial arts. It's not just mixed martial arts. They have kickboxing, Muay Thai, boxing. They just had a WBC World Boxing Championship fight over there, submission grappling. So I'm truly looking forward to going over there and just displaying my skills and being the humble athlete that I am, and just being a true martial artist. Over here, it's a little bit different. I think Ben Askren is already, mixing in very well with the North American audience on Twitter, calling out all the welterweights, telling them, the bum list. I've been keeping track of it. And when I sat there, and I was like, this is a win-win situation for everyone, right? I mean, Ben's a great athlete, great character, and he's already on there, running, I don't want to call it running his mouth, but calling people out who called him out when he was over in Asia doing his thing. So I'm just looking for it. I think it's a fantastic situation for both of us and for both organizations, because all that's going to do is that's going to transfer into pay-per-view buys. That's what it's going to transfer in for Ben, which is what the UFC model is all about, is pay-per-view buys.
UFC try to keep you? Did they try to convince you to stay?
No. That's I don't talk to the UFC brass anymore. That's with Maki First Round Management. That's what they do, and they were awesome with this whole entire process. I stopped talking to the UFC a long time ago.
Okay, so what about the actual word trade? Because Ben just told us that the UFC owns his contract. People have scoffed at the idea that this is a trade. Does one actually own your UFC contract, and then maybe you'll renegotiate? How did this actually work?
No, so obviously Malky would give more of the details. Like I said,
Yep.
I was more of this is what I wanted essentially, right? I was like, I want to get released, and from my understanding is that okay? Well, if we're going to release him, we want to be able to have the rights to Ben Askren's contract. From my understanding, from Malky Kawa. But with that being said, I got a brand new, fresh contract from One Championship.
That's done. You already got it.
That's done. I sent it out last night. Following on Instagram, I did the post last night. Ended, and now I'm official One athlete, and I head over to Singapore next week to meet the heads up there and be able to see my teammate Bibiano Fernandez fight for the first time and pin one of their events.
No secret also that your head coach, Matt Hume, is the vice president of operations over at One. How big of a factor is his presence in all of this? Like, is he the one that convinced you? Do you just want to work for him and fight with him? This is no secret. So I'm just curious how involved he was in all of this.
Well, obviously, it's no secret that he's my head coach, and I've been with Matt since the very beginning, 2008. Back in 2008, 2008, he wasn't working for One Championship, and obviously, he can't fight my battles. All he can do is put me in a position to be successful, and that's essentially what he's done. I believe even if Matt wasn't working with One Championship, I think my path probably led to Asia because he's always had a huge influence in Asia. And obviously, I have teammates over there, Bibiano Fernandez, and a long time ago, I can't remember when this was. I was fighting. And Bibiano, he had the option to go to the UFC, Dream. He could have gone anywhere in the world. And he weighed out all his options. And he did. And he says, what is going to be better for me long term? And what's going to be better for me and my family and my brand and what I represent as a martial artist? And I said, dude, just come over to North America. You're gonna kill it, man. I consider you one of the best bantamweights in the world. And he goes, BJ, let me tell you something. For me, it's not about belts or anything. I have a family. I have a brand. I'm a true martial artist, and I think in Asia it's gonna be better for me. And I think they respect lighter guys better. And so I'm going to stay in Asia. And he says, watch, this is back in 2009, a long time ago. And he goes, trust me, this movement when they make is going to benefit you one day, and you're going to see. And I see, and I've seen him throughout his whole entire career fighting in Rising and fighting in one championship, and how, the Asian market respects the lighter weights and the martial artists better.
What would have happened? Okay, they start negotiating, they start going down this road, and then a snag hits, can't get it done. They won't release you, UFC. What would have happened? Would you have been okay with going back, or had you set your mind on not going back, on moving on? Would that have been difficult? Could that have been the end of your career?
Obviously when Naki went in there and asked, the UFC, like, hey, Demetrious Johnson wants his release. They weren't like, oh, hippity-doo, let's get him out of there. So, yeah, absolutely. So there was a little, a couple speed bumps, I guess you can say, according to Naki. And then the first thing they said, was no. Like, no, he can fight out the rest of his contract or he retired. And for me, I was like, all right, well, it doesn't hurt to ask. So I thank you, Naki, for asking. I appreciate it. And I guess I'll fight out the rest of my contract. And at the time, I was going through, I had a DVT, which is a deep vein thrombosis, which is a blood clot from my last fight, just because I had so much trauma from fighting and just kicking. The LCL tear, the popliteus tear, the foot swell. So I was going through all that. So I had 3 months. I couldn't do anything because I was on blood thinners. So this was a long-going process of 3 months of trying to get out of my contract, but asking for my release from the UFC. And then when they came back and said no, and I was like, all right, well, I got, 2 months left of blood thinners. I'll get back in the gym and start training and then try to bang out these 4 fights and then, go somewhere else. But luckily, Maki was able to get it done, and here we are now.
Many have hypothesized that this move signals the end of the flyweights. Have you been told that they're going to shut down that division?
No, I haven't been told anything. All I've been told is I've been released from my contract.
Okay.
And I hope they don't.
Why?
Well, I mean, it's mixed martial arts, right? You got to have, in my personal opinion, you got to have every single weight class. Why not? I mean, they got great athletes over there, and they have a fresh champion, like I said before, and they have fresh matchups.
Okay.
Carrying them on the team.
Would you be sad if they just shut it down, considering what you did over there? Would that bum you out?
No, it wouldn't bum me out because I'm no longer. I've done everything I can over there. I've made 11 consecutive title defenses. I mean, at the end of the day, it's their business, right? But I think as a fan of martial arts, and I speak for a lot of hardcore fans, I speak for Joe Rogan. Hell, I even speak for you, Ariel Helwani. Flyweight division is probably one of the best divisions. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I speak for a lot of people out there that flyweight is one of the best divisions out there. I mean, the athletes are incredible. They're well-rounded. They're skillful. They don't get tired. So why would you want to shut down? Why would you want to shut down an exciting division? Is it because it doesn't make you money? I mean, if the UFC came out and says, we're shutting down the division, it doesn't make us a damn dime, okay. But just be upfront about it. And I think they will if they're going to. And that's just my opinion.
When do you expect to debut over at ONE?
When will my debut be at ONE? I'm not sure yet. I was on the conference call last night with Chatri, and I told him that possibly beginning of 2019, maybe January or February. So right now I'm focused on my traveling, and then once I'm done with my traveling, I get back in the gym, see how the body upholds, and then we'll get something written in, get a contract and get a fight first.
Will you fight at 125 or 135?
So it's a little bit different than it is in North America. So in Asia, in one championship, there is no weight cutting. And what I mean by that is everybody fights a weight above their natural weight. So when I fought in America, at the UFC, I fought at 125, which was the flyweight division 125. And when I made that weight, I wasn't hydrated. I was depleted of every natural mineral you can think of. And so in one championship, I'll be fighting at the flyweight division, which is 135. And I'll have to make that weight hydrated. Right now, I'm walking around 138.4, and I'm eating whatever I want, essentially. So I'm in America, that's why I would fight at 125. If I fight at 135 in the UFC, I'll be fighting guys who walk around 165. I'm walking around 138. So it'll be the flyweight division, 135, hydrated. That's how we'll go.
Okay. And your new contract, how many fights is it for?
It's for. All I can say is I'm retiring here. I ain't going nowhere. I'm retiring here. I put 6 years in. I put more than 6 years in North America. I think this is it. I'm done over here. I'm going to fight probably 5 or 6 years as long as my body will last, and then I'll retire and move on to the next stage of my life.
Wow. Okay. So when is your last stop?
Yep. When's the last stop? One stop.
Will you move to Asia?
Oh no!
Okay.
No, I'm not moving to Asia. Like I said, Bibiano Fernandez, he's fighting Asia his whole entire career, and he still lives in Canada. Me and him still train together, and he'll help me through the ropes of getting used to the travel and learn how to compete overseas. And I'm looking forward to it. It's something new. I might fight in a ring, or I might fight in a cage. It's all new, fresh things I'm gonna have to go through, which I'm looking forward to in my career.
Do you leave the UFC with any regrets?
No, not at all. I mean, I think I've accomplished everything in the UFC that a champion could accomplish. The only thing if I didn't accomplish was becoming a double champ. But at the end of the day, what's the point when you have to relinquish one of the belts? One championship, they actually have dual-weight champions, and they're actually defending each of those belts. So, I mean, that's not out of the talks for me. Obviously, I'm never going to fight my teammate and my teacher, Bibiano Fernandez, but he's a little bit older than I am. Unless he fights, he's 42, but that's always an option on the table if he was ever to relinquish his belt and retire.
What's your favorite UFC memory? Like, when I ask you about your time in the UFC, when were you the happiest?
I would say my favorite time is working with the people who don't get a lot of recognition. James Campbell, Chris Trevino, Christian Hauser, Heidi. I can just go on and name a list. Amber Andrews. I can just name a list of people that I worked with. I've always had great interaction with those people, and it always cracks me up. I'll come in there and but the champ is here. The champ is here. I was like, ladies and gentlemen, please don't call me that. I'm just a hard worker trying to display my martial arts. And they were just laughing. They're like, you're the best. You're the champ. And I was like, guys, you don't have to tell me that. Like, I'm just here to display my skill set. So I appreciate everybody I worked with, and that was, probably my happiest moment, just working with so many different people in the UFC. And I'll still stay in contact with everybody. But yeah, I mean, Taylor Price, Dr. Davison, Dr. Sanders. I mean, I could just name off every single person, but I don't want to, you have a show to run. No.
But in terms of fights, is there a moment? A fight? A victory?
No, just seeing how happy my coaches are. I mean, all the fights are fantastic. They're all fun. The submission I pulled off against Ray Borg was awesome. It's always cool to hear people who said, I've been watching mixed martial arts since the 80s, and I've never seen anything like that. And I was like, oh, well, Matt did it to me, and that's why I did it to him. So, I mean, like I said, it's always, for me, I always get happy when I see my coaches and my teammates are happy.
At this point, you go on, you move on from the UFC, you go to ONE. Are you worried that in North America people won't see you as much, or you do not even care about that? Because that's been the big thing. Like, oh, Eddie goes to ONE, you go to ONE, people aren't going to see you, people aren't going to watch you, you're going to be forgotten like Ben Askren. Does that worry you at all?
No, not at all. I mean, they're true fans in mixed martial arts. They will find a way to tune in, which it's very simple. It's very easy. ONE Championship has made it easy. All you have to do is download the app on your iPhone, the App Store, or the Android store. Download ONE Championship. You don't even have to log in. You basically just get the app on your phone, log in, and boom, you can watch all the fights for free. Like I said, for free. And they also just announced that they're doing a TV deal in North America. So the North American fans will be able to watch, ONE Championship, and also I'll be keeping up to date with my Instagram and Twitter as well. So those still be able to watch. Like I said, it's the true fans. The guys who are drinking that that tall can of beer and want to see all blood and all that stuff, they'll be satisfied with other stuff. But the true fans, the hardcore, the true people who want to see true martial arts, they'll be following us on ONE Championship.
What's the TV deal?
I have no idea. I mean,
where did they announce that? I didn't see an announcement.
Well, no. It wasn't announced, but they're saying they're working on it.
Ah.
Like, it was an article posted, Chatri, and I believe Chatri said it last night on the conference call as well.
Oh, I wasn't invited to the conference call. I need to work on that. For some reason, I don't get those.
Yeah. You know what? Ariel, I'll put in the good work for you. Okay?
I appreciate
I'll see what I can do. You're good people.
It's sort of like I put in the good word with the Twitter name there. What a nice Twitter name we see over there, Mighty Mouse. No Mighty Mouse UFC anymore. It's just straight up Mighty. Wow, look at that. It's clean. It's nice. Congratulations on that.
Well, look at you. Look at that nice little humble brag from you, Ariel Helwani. Thank you, Ariel Helwani, for getting it done. And I appreciate that too. Like I said, I mean, I think at the end of the day, everybody's happy with the move. I think North America fans are going to get a treat with Ben Askren. I mean, he's already getting a lot of people excited for the matchups he's going to be able to bring. And for me going to Asia, I think a lot of the fans over there are very excited. They've only seen me fight in the UFC, and I think they're really going to get a treat when they see me display my mixed martial arts skills in Asia.
I heard a rumor that they might be doing events here in North America. Is there any talk of that? Could you tell us anything about that?
I have no idea if they are whatsoever. That's a question for Chatri.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Maybe we'll have him on the show one of these days. Final thing for you, DJ, and I really appreciate the time. This has to feel somewhat surreal, right? Like, does it feel real that you're out of the UFC, that you're a part of this trade, that you're moving on? You've been a part of Zuffa for so long, dating back to WEC and UFC and all this stuff. Like, how would you even describe the emotions of the past week?
The emotions are a little up and down. Obviously, I was at TwitchCon when all this stuff was going on, so I was more focused on one of my other passion, which is video games. Like going back and forth, looking at the contract, and then signing, and then sending it, then sending another one. It's happy. Like I said, I'm very happy and excited to go over there and win championship. And it's better for me long term. It's better for me for my family. So it's gonna be a good time. And with the UFC, like I said, I truly appreciate everything you've done for me. Thank you to Dana White, Mick Maynard, and Sean Shelby. And I appreciate you guys finding me up in Alaska when I head kicked Eddie Brock in the head. And that's how I got my first contract with the WEC. And that's led me to this point. So now I'm in one championship, one athlete. I got to work my way up to see if I can capture that belt and see if I can defend it. I mean, that's always the goal, right? Is become the champion and defend it as many times as you can. So here we go. All over again.
Immediate title shot?
No.
Okay. No? You haven't done enough?
My way up.
You haven't done enough to get a title shot in one right off the bat? Come on.
At the end of the day, Erwani, I'm a workhorse. I'm a workman. I'm a martial artist. There are people who've been working for the same goal over there longer than I have. So I don't get to come in there and strut my stuff and think I'm the new kid on the block, dog.
All right.
New kid on the block. You got to work your way up. You don't get It's like going to a new school, Erwani. You don't just walk on there and get to date the prom queen. I mean, you can sometimes, but you got to work your way up. You got to make moves, win fights, and that's what I'm looking to do.
Listen, when you're the winningest champion in UFC history, I kind of feel like you can date the prom queen right off the bat if you're asking my opinion. But I appreciate it. It's no no surprise that you're as humble as ever. You're going to go in there, do your thing, and I'm looking forward to it. You have shook up the mixed martial arts world, historic stuff, unprecedented stuff. It's been a lot of fun to follow it along. I wish you the best, DJ. And just I want to let you know, just because you're in one doesn't mean we can't talk. All right, don't forget about me over there. And I know you're going to be this huge international sensation. Everyone's going to be talking about Mighty Mouse. Just don't forget the little people here stateside, okay?
Oh, of course, I went out to get you, Ariel Helwani. And like I said, they get the Bakakawa first-round management. They get to one championship, but they get the UFC for making this happen. And, I'm looking for the future. And I won't forget about you, Ariel Helwani. I won't.
All right. Thank you, DJ. Congratulations. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, there he is. Demetrious Johnson stopping by, the newest member of One Championship. Crazy times. Crazy. It still doesn't feel real. So for all those naysayers that are saying this is not a trade, it's a trade. Demetrious Johnson, the winningest champion in UFC history, is now a member of One Championship. Ben Askren, the former One Championship and Bellator MMA welterweight champion, is now a member of the UFC. And if you are a new fan, you will know that Dana White and Ben Askren have not seen eye to eye. You saw him just say he might be the only fighter on the roster who's blocked currently, and was blocked when he was essentially brought over, not technically signed, but he's probably going to get a new contract now. That's a funny little tidbit. But if you go back into the archives, and I don't even know if those video blogs are still around, Dana White and Ben Askren have been going back and forth for quite some time. There's an infamous one where Dana White is calling up the editor of ESPN.com. They had a relationship with Sherdog at the time, and it was fight week for a big UFC show, and Ben is on the cover, or it's like the main picture of Sherdog, and he's talking about, you've got some curly-haired guy. This is like back in 2009. That's when this all started. He's poked at the UFC in the past about drug testing. Dana White said that he'd rather see flies procreate than watch him fight. I mean, there is a rich history here, and now all of a sudden he's a member of the UFC and he's calling everyone out. This is amazing. And let's just be very clear about this. I think the timing is fortuitous for the UFC. I think they're involved in this antitrust lawsuit, and this is a way, including with Eddie Alvarez, this is a way of saying, hey, look, we play nice with others. Hey, there are options for others. I think much like free agency has benefited from that lawsuit of the UFC sort of pulling back strategically when it makes sense for them, when they feel like there's not so much that they'll lose in the equation. I feel like in this case, DJ wins in the sense that he wanted out. So don't feel bad for him. He wanted out. This was his idea that he concocted, and now the UFC is able to be like, look, we're not a monopoly. We're playing nice with others. There are other options out there. You can make a lot of money. 8-figure contract, Eddie Alvarez. Go get it. So there's still a lot that needs to be figured out from here. When does Ben debut? When does DJ debut? What happens to the flyweights? Do they shut them down? What happens to Henry Cejudo? The talk was that he'd move up to 135, so that would be a perfect time to shut that division down, regardless of if he wins. But here we are. It's a thing. It happened. Demetrious Johnson headed to 1. Ben Askren headed to the UFC. Does this open up for more trades? Does this get people talking? Does this get promoters talking? Does this sort of, in a way, like break down those walls and those barriers that have happened in our sport? Like in boxing, there are barriers, but it's not quite the same. Like if something needs to get done, it will get done if it's the best for business, right? If it's Manny and Floyd 5 years later, Showtime and HBO will figure it out. Lewis Tyson, they'll figure it out. In our sport, they've never figured it out. Like the only time they've ever figured it out was Chuck Liddell going to Pride for like a cup of coffee. But otherwise, since Zuffa was Zuffa, number one, they've never played nice. Fedor Emelianenko, M1, etc., right? Well, now, if it makes sense, and we did a nice little piece on ESPN.com where all the members of the team threw out ideas, fantasy trades, if you will, this could change everything for the fighters. This could change. I mean, you're a Randy Couture back in 2008, and you're disappointed, you're upset, you don't want to fight for the UFC, you want out. Well, now you actually have something to point to. There's a precedent here. We can actually get this done. So this is big time stuff. There's a lot of layers to this, from the antitrust to the flyweights to opening the door to future trades. I mean, to what Askren does, how much they push him, the long-term implications of all of this. DJ going to 1, Eddie going to 1, TV deal North America, which I'm hearing is close. Events in North America for 1. Now they're a major player in the free agent game. So many different layers to this. Fascinating story.